and in the video, they mentioned, not sure if you have an editor or you edit videos yourself. They almost kind of already kind of predicted the objections that they were going to get. Oh, I edit my own videos. Oh, I have an editor already. Don't worry about this. And then that bought them the time to then was then curious. Okay, even if I did have an editor, or, hey, I do edit my own videos. What are they going to say?
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 39 of Sales Stories in Real Life. I am your host, Alex Bruski, and this is the sales show where professional salespeople share their memorable buying experiences. Today's guest, I'm trying to let out a laugh already, but I'm not going to let it happen. He makes a ton of sales content. You've probably seen him jumping into frozen lakes and potatoes and the whole 9 yards. He is doing social at Lavender. Welcome to the show, Will Aitken. Man, I hear you had quite a memorable experience with a video editor. What happened there, Will?
Yo, what's good, Alex? Yeah, that's right. Just a couple of months ago, right before I joined the Lavender team, I was working at a company called SalesFeed, and I got prospected, which one doesn't happen often to me as a B2B non-exec person, as an IC. But it really, really did a great job of catching my eye. So what this person did was they sent me an email with the subject line, something along the lines of, it was referencing one of my recent videos, and it said your pit video or something along those lines. And then in the email, they said, hey, Will, really loved your video about this. My biggest takeaway was this. That said, I have noticed that there was a couple of potential improvements for the editing. I'm not sure if you edit your own videos or you have an editor already, but I had some thoughts. Check out this video here. And then what they did was they sent me a Vidyard. And for those of you who don't know, SalesFeed is owned by Vidyard. So right away, they're using the platform that I was working for. They've caught my eye. They've said, hey, I noticed this about you. They called out something that made me think, oh my gosh, they actually watched the video rather than just saying, hey, I loved your recent video, which would have made me think they hadn't watched it. And then I could see in the thumbnail of their video, the little GIF thing was my video. So I clicked into it, and what they had done is kind of watched a minute of my video and said, really loved what you did there, really loved this part. There were a couple of things that I would have done differently here. And to show you, I actually downloaded your video offline, put it in an editor, and made a couple of those edits. And here's why they work. And they made a couple more transitions. They did a couple of quick zooms. They did some text on the screen just to make it more engaging. They said, this will help with retention, and it should lead to people sticking around in the video for longer, which should then drive your video to more people on YouTube. Not, as I said, not sure if you had it edited yet, but would this be worth checking out? And I was like, because I do edit all my own videos. I'm not an editor. I've been self-taught this entire time. And although they were critiquing my work, every point they made was so true. And I knew it because it's stuff that I would do if I had the time or expertise to do it myself. Anyway, I came back to them. I didn't have any budget at SalesFeed for an editor. I was editing all my own content. So I couldn't give them the business of SalesFeed. But I really liked their approach so much that I just said, hey, how much do you charge for a video? Yada, yada, yada. And it turned out they were charging like $500 a YouTube video or something around that. And I said, well, look, SalesFeed doesn't have any budget for that, but I do have my own business on the side. And I've got some cash in there. I would love to commission you to do a YouTube video for me, just because of your outreach. Now, they made the video. I haven't yet to release it. I'm holding on to that one. It's probably the best video, better than anything I could have ever made, edited myself. And since then, I've actually tried to hire them as an editor here at Lavender, but they're doing too well for themselves. No, and I could tell because the way they're outreaching people. So that was the story. They tried to sell me on B2B. They impressed me so much. They ended up spending my own cash on it. And just really got my attention. And, as a result, got my money.
That is awesome. Have a lot I want to dig into here. But first and foremost, I love that obviously you're working at Lavender now, right? Lavender is an email assistant, and they got you via cold email. That's phenomenal. So let's
cold video. So
and cold video.
Lavender. They did a bit of both.
Double dipped. So let's dig into that a bit, because you obviously talked about the email structure, right? They had a video for you. We'll dig into that a bit. But I really liked the CTA and the approach that they took, because they didn't reach out to you and say, hey, Will, your video was wrong here, here, and here, right? And like poking holes and making you feel bad, right? It was, hey, your video was really good. but I noticed a couple things that I would have done differently. So just kind of talk about the language in the
Mm.
email that made you feel, hey, this person is here to improve my video content, not just poke holes in what I could have done better. Because there's delicate balance there.
Yeah. Now, the other thing they did as well in the email and in the video, they mentioned not sure if you have an editor or you edit videos yourself. They almost kind of already kind of predicted the objections that they were going to get. Oh, I edit my own videos. Oh, I have an editor already. Don't worry about this. And then that bought them the time to then was then curious. Okay, even if I did have an editor, hey, I do edit my own videos. What are they going to say? What am I missing? What would I be missing if I did have an editor who was missing these things? So heck, if I had had an editor, maybe I would have passed along the notes and said maybe do more of this. It was essentially free consulting, really. Them giving me information on how I could do my job better. Ultimately, because they showed me the end state and did the extra work, I can't imagine. It wasn't like tons. It was probably like a 20-second clip based on my own editing that probably took them 5 minutes. So I don't know how well that would scale, but with that high level personalization to that point, I'd be really curious to know their close rates, their reply rates, should I say, and then close rates.
A lot of the most effective sales motions don't scale. And that's kind of the beauty of it all, is that like they let you know, like, hey, Will, this video is for you, right? Like we took time into this, we put effort into this. And to your point, it wasn't, hey, I saw your video and it was great, just kind of like plain vanilla. It was, hey, I saw your video and what I loved about it was X. And where I think it could be better is Y, right? So they really, really kind of dove in and not only did their research, but then showed rather than told, right? It was, hey, here's a little clip of a video using the platform that your previous company was owned by. How does that all hit with you, right? Like, let's say it came in.
There's so much there, isn't there? Like, there's so much they did right. I just couldn't follow it as well. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No. You're good. You were going down the exact path that I wanted you to, because it's something that can seem like so small and subtle, but those small, subtle things make a huge difference, right? Like, let's say everything was exactly the same, but the video came in from a different video provider. That message may not land as well with you.
Yeah, for me, it wouldn't have mattered. But I do know people who work at video platforms who, if they get sent a vidyard and they're a different company, for example, they will blacklist that sales rep. So it wouldn't work for everyone, right? I was always more of a believer in the power of using video in sales rather than the power of vidyard. Vidyard's a great platform, but I was more an advocate for video in sales rather than vidyard in sales, right? So for me, they could have sent it from any platform and it would have resonated the same. But the fact it was vidyard also, it probably subtly made me more likely to watch it. I will say that, yeah.
Right. Even when you see that link on the bottom of the page, right, and you see that name that you're used to, right, then it's like, yes. Oh, okay, I'm definitely gonna, right, like it makes it from a probably would watch to a definitely would watch. Obviously, yes. At the beginning of the message was so good. And let's even talk about the CTA. I don't remember the exact verbiage that it was, but I remember it was an interest-based CTA rather than, hey, Will, let's get this call on the calendar for this time. Hey, let's do X, right? So for you as the recipient, what's going through your head when you go through all that, right? Like they had a great structure. It started off with, hey, here, Will, this is what I really liked. This is what I thought could have been better. What do you think? Check out this video at the bottom of.
I can't remember the exact words they used, but they didn't ask for a meeting. They didn't say, is this worth a chat? They said, what do you think? Do you reckon this would improve your videos? It was something along those lines. It was like a feedback. What do you think? Do you agree this is better? That you think that, it was along those lines. And they also doubled down that CTA, I forgot to mention, in the email afterwards. It's like, let me know your thoughts. It was something like that. It was like a command, let me know your thoughts on this, which added to the curiosity me wanted to click on it because I was like, okay, I'm gonna have thoughts about this video, right? So yeah, it was an interest-based CTA. It was closed-ended. It made it really easy to respond to. And I was like, and what I did to respond was like, whoa, that was amazing. I'd definitely be doing these things if I had the time and skills myself. How do you work, basically? And then they kind of went from there. So if they had asked for a 30-minute meeting, I mean, their average was so good that probably wouldn't have ruined it for me. I probably would have taken it. But it didn't necessarily require a 30-minute meeting either, right? What I ended up buying from them, I just bought over email. It was all processed. I've never actually had a call with this person still. So, in those cases, like it depends what you sell, right?
Always, always. There's nuances for every kind of sale. And that's why on Sales Stories in Real Life, we talk about these relatable buying experiences, right? Not everyone has purchased a 6-figure, 5-figure software contract, but a ton of
Yeah.
people have been prospected by video editors, by people who are selling cars, people who are selling houses. So this is really encapsulates the spirit of the
Mm,
whole show, which is why I love it so much.
yeah.
So, the,
And it's worth noting, by the way, the moment we got to like 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I was actually getting quite a few people reaching out to me to try and sell me the video editing services, right? And technically, the person who reached out to me was trying to sell sales speed. So it was going to be a B2B sale. And that scale, we would have been doing one video a week, which for them would have worked out to be, plus a bunch of other stuff, probably a 5 grand account a month account for them, right? Now, the other people weren't sending me videos. A lot of the time, you could tell their messages were canned, templated emails. Um, Most of the time, they went to spam as well. And it's interesting this one didn't. I think maybe because they're sending less emails. It did include a link to a video and a GIF. So neither of those things triggered it. But generally, I'd assume that probably means that they're doing less volume, right? Because that's one of the biggest things that sends people to the spam folder. Just blast it.
Yep. Yep. You started going exactly where I wanted you to go too. So that's perfect. Let's kind of pull on that thread a little bit more. Obviously, once you started seeing this success on YouTube, particularly passing a certain threshold, almost kind of like when you announce funding on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
You announce funding on LinkedIn, you get 99% of the messages and they all look the same and they all just go to the mental spam filter or the actual spam filter. What were some of those unsuccessful messages that did hit your inbox look like, right? Like what did the stark differences look like between the crummy outreach and the one that ultimately got you?
So kind of like some of the things I mentioned that the first email wasn't. Like, hey, watched your video, your channel's great, love your work, you're doing amazing. But like again, you can say any of those, and most of the time I'm willing to bet they hadn't watched a video of mine and they hadn't
Right.
looked at my content on YouTube. They just found me, put me in a list, and sent it to me, right? A lot of them were selling based on price. So a lot of those were like, we can edit your videos for as little as number, like $100 a video. Um, a lot of them were very long. A lot of them just spoke about themselves a lot in the emails as well. I don't think a single video editor. I probably got maybe a couple of dozen video editing outreaches in that last 6 months while I was there, and I don't think a single one of them had actually sent me a video. Now, for other people, you can get away with not sending a video, but videos are very visual, and really, if we're talking about videos, why not use that platform as a medium as well? I think there's a smart play there for people to use if they're selling something very visual. For example, design services, and there's a company called Superside who does a lot of freelance design work for a lot of companies in SaaS. They do a great job of this. What they do is they go onto the prospect's website and they film a video of the website and just point out, hey, I can see that your website looks really great. This is awesome. Your CTA is perfect. However, I noticed that you haven't got any dynamic images, ones that move. We've actually noticed that we see a X conversion, is the reason that you haven't done that yet? Do you want to consider it? And again, it's that kind of like poking holes in it, but not in a mean way. No one likes to be punched in the face. Hey, buy my stuff because you suck without it, but in a way that's kind of constructive, helpful, and informed, that builds trust. So yeah, none of them had ever sent me a video before. All of them were like, we can do videos cheap. We can do yada yada. We do this, that, and the other thing. We have the best editors in house. All that stuff that I don't really care about. But the only person who ever broke through was someone who could show me a better way and actually constructively point out something that was an area of improvement.
Perfectly said. There's such a balance, like I said earlier, between you're poking holes and being an asshole about it, and you're poking holes and illuminating areas where you can add value, right? Like nobody wants to be told their baby is ugly, but
Yes.
everyone wants to improve, right? Everyone wants to have optimal results. So that's a really, really fine line to hold as a
Yeah.
seller. So that's a key skill that people definitely want to focus in on. And what I thought was real fascinating too is that not only did they send you a video, right? Because they could have sent you a video and just said, hey, Will, great to meet you, right? This is what I would change about your video, XYZ.
Mm.
They actually downloaded your video and made the changes, right? It wasn't, hey, this is what I would do, what I would
Yeah.
do, what I would do. It was like, hey, this is what I think, and here it is. So
Yes.
how does that kind of land for you as the recipient?
Well, so I think that's a very special thing. And if you have the opportunity to do this in what you do and you want to actually land with your customers, oh my gosh, this is so much potential. It's almost the equivalent of this. If I was to receive a cold email from someone at another company, then and it was bad, let's just say, or not as good as it could be, let's just not be mean. I could get that email, put it through Lavender, do a rewrite of it, and then send that screenshot side by side to their sales leader and say, hey, I block out their names. I'm not pointing out, but I could say, hey, your team is sending emails that are probably not meeting best practices and are likely, ending up in spam or not going to get responses or don't really make a whole lot of sense. It wouldn't be great if you had a way to coach them without having to spend an hour with them every single day, coaching them how to write an email without going to every single one of their emails. So like it's equivalent of like actually using your product, your service to illuminate the light. That wouldn't take me that long, but it would be so much more impactful than just reaching out to someone saying, hey, you might be trying to improve your sales emails. It's kind of proof in the pudding in a way. It literally, instead of like, hey, I can make your videos better, it's, hey, your videos are good, but these areas could be better. Here's how I would change them, but worth chatting more. It's really interesting. And I think, like, for example, Superside or any design agency, it doesn't actually take that long to do that. You don't have to redesign the whole website. You could literally just show them a little bit of the end state, just a little glimpse. You're not selling them on the product or how it works.
Right.
You're selling them on the end result. So with Lavender, I wouldn't go, oh, I used the AI and the recommendations and the coaching. I would just show them the new email that I rewrote for them, right? And then you can show them the end state and get them thinking about, oh my gosh, can you imagine if all your emails looked like that? Can you imagine if all your videos were that good? Can you imagine if your website looked that fresh and that clean and that eye-catching? All of those things, from a visual perspective, can really spice up messaging. And I think it's a lot what sellers miss that a lot. We're cold calling, we're LinkedIn messaging, we're emailing, and it's all written words. But when you can add an image to that, it really does clarify a lot in the prospect's brain.
That is such a perfect example, going back to the Lavender example, because I'm sure all of you at Lavender get a lot of email outreach as well. So I'm sure there's plenty of data points to go off of. What sales leader is not going to open an email from somebody from Lavender that shows an actual email that their salesperson sent with a rewrite? It doesn't matter what the process is, right? Like it's the destination.
And it's all, even if they don't reply, you provided value. You've given them almost free consulting. Heck, they might go, oh, well, I can do it myself. But, you've still helped in a way, right? That's how I think about adding value as a seller. Everyone says adding value, But if you can show them or help do something to help them do their job better or show them a better way or teach them in a way that's not being condescending and overly assumptive and arrogant, right? Than that. So I could send that email. I could do a rewrite of a rep's email who sent me an email, send a rewrite to their sales leader, removing all the information about the rep, and say something along the lines of, "Hey, this email was pretty good. Caught my eye enough to open it. There are a few things I would improve about it. This is how I would rewrite it using a Lavender. What do you think? Do you reckon this would be better? Data says this would convert higher, but what do you think?" I could start that conversation like that. They'd be like, whoa, yeah, I love it. Or they might just be like, nah, that wouldn't work for us. And so what? It's the end. Also gets me better at writing emails, right? So.
Well, to your point, whether they respond or not, if the response is negative, if they don't respond at all, like you've still gone and given value, right? So like, let's say you send a sales leader that email and a quarter, and they do nothing with it, and a quarter goes by and they see their team's replies going down and down and down.
Yeah.
That person's going to be thinking about Lavender in the back of their head because you didn't just reach out pushing Lavender, you reached out to help them get better. And this is one thing that I really admire you guys at Lavender for. And, obviously, particularly Mike does his 3-minute sales school. He does this, but very in public, right? Like he takes people's emails, runs it through Lavender, rewrites it. If you beat him, you get a free coaching session with him and Lavender. So it's like, where's the downside, right? It's like on the client end, it's only upside, and the upside just goes up and up and up and up. So I think that's a phenomenal client acquisition strategy, and you're drinking your own Kool-Aid, right? Somebody hit you with the
Exactly.
same style of outreach, and now you're going and you're adapting that same type of outreach to your role that you're in now.
Mhm. Nailed it. Yep.
And here's the thing too, we didn't even get to talk about yet. SalesFeed didn't even have budget for this, right? Like that typically 9 times out of 10 would be stall deal, no decision, right? Closed lost. But you were so sold on the value that you went and found budget outside of your personal business. So like what kind of takeaway can sellers get from that, right? Like there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah. Okay. So not every loss is a win, basically, right? Like I obviously went out of my way to do that, but even if since then I've also referred them to two new clients as well, who I believe signed on with them, right? So like it's just doing this little extra, right? I people go, do you know any good video editors? I'm like, yeah, this guy, and then I've actually shared the same video with them to show them what I meant. And I've also now started, and then I just linked to his YouTube channel as well. I'm like, this guy is your guy. And then I give him a thing. Hey, these affordable, really good, great to work with, delivers on time. So as a result of that, they've actually have won, right? So even if you do get an objection, but your outreach has been really good. If someone says, hey, this video was great, this email was awesome, but we're just not in the market for this right now, you can actually potentially go for a referral as well. I think a lot of people miss the opportunity to ask for referrals. And sometimes you forget, sometimes people don't know how to ask. But I used to have a system, and I still do have a system technically, that anytime you get a yes, a no, or a thank you is an opportunity to ask for a referral. And this is what I think a lot of account executives miss because they could have a renewable pipeline because of this. So anytime a customer tells me, no, we're not going to buy, yes, we are going to buy, or just says thank you at any one point in time, that's my trigger to then go, oh, no worries, you're welcome, or hey, that's all right, thanks for letting me know, or hey, great, that's awesome to hear you moving forward. I'll use those to then jump into. I don't suppose I could ask you a quick favor. When you ask someone for a quick favor, they generally say yes because they'd have to be an asshole to be like, no, don't you dare ask me for a favor. And then I go, you wouldn't happen to know someone who's a bit like you who could benefit from a conversation similar to the one we just had. And then they go, oh, he's asked me for a referral. And they kind of go like that. And then they go, and then I go, hey, you don't have to introduce me to them, but do you mind if I ask who you were just thinking of? And then they often go, yeah, I was actually thinking of Jeff over at Superside. And I go, all right, great. Do you mind if I just reach out to Jeff and say, hey, you and I had a quick chat. You can give him a heads up if you want. Would that be fair? And then they go, yeah, you know what, Will, that sounds great. And oftentimes, especially when they've said no, I actually got the best referrals from people who have told me no, because they've got this feeling of guilt that they're not going to buy from you. And what they sometimes, a lot of people are afraid to tell sellers no because they're worried the seller is going to try and talk them out of it, try and change their mind. But once someone's got to a no, 99.9% of the time, you can't change their mind. If they've got to the final decision, no, we're not moving forward. It's really hard to change a no.
Right.
So instead of trying to objection handle or turn them around, delight them by saying, hey, that's totally okay. Thanks so much for letting me know. And then they're like, whoa, he didn't try and, shaft me and convince me and manipulate me and tell me I was wrong for making that decision. And then you can then get them to reciprocate because they're so delighted that you didn't try and do that to them by asking for a referral and keeping things on even ground. The one exception to that is when they go to the competitor, because in those cases, they're like, no, I'm going to refer them to the person I just bought from. But any other case, no decision. Maybe you can even tell someone when they're not a fit and say, hey, I'm not actually sure we can help you here.
Right.
And then they will also reciprocate on that one because they're like, well, the seller didn't try and sell me something I don't need. Wow. And then you can ask for their referral again. So if you do get no's, if you do get budget concerns, don't always try and argue with them. Sometimes there's the opportunity to delight them and interrupt the pattern of what they're used to. Think about what a stereotypical salesperson would do in that environment and do the complete opposite, delight them, and then ask for a referral.
Well said. Well said. That's a huge opportunity because, yeah, we don't have to go into why. Referrals are obviously a huge bonus to any business. And I mean, quite frankly, going all the way back to the beginning piece, like you said, what that video editor reached out to you with wasn't scalable, but it's scalable on the referral side, right? You do that first outreach so good, sure, that output might not be scalable, but your results are ultra scalable when people know you as the expert in your space.
Exactly. And you're becoming a consultant. And yeah, as I said, I referred him to two separate clients now, probably much bigger than the sales feed opportunity as well. So
it's awesome. That's awesome. It's a perfect time to pivot into our big question that we ask every seller on the show. Well, we got some B2B sellers that are listening to the show. You're obviously very active in the B2B space, making content, cold calls, cold emails, the whole nine. What would be your biggest takeaway that you would give to B2B sellers that can help them get better at their job?
yeah, it's top of mind for me right now because I did training with a team yesterday about this. You need to stop selling the what of what you sell, the how and the what, which is the features, its benefits, its price, whatever it is, and instead go for the why. So why would someone buy what you're selling? Why would someone take a meeting from a stranger who's interrupted their day? Why? And ultimately, the reason always comes down to there's the opportunity for them to do things better than they currently do them. And more, I'll double down that they have a challenge that you can help them highlight that you can then help them solve. So stop talking about your features and benefits, especially in cold outreach. Instead, talk about the reasons why your product exists in the first place, the problems they might be facing based on observations that you can draw and conclude about them. Don't assume, but kind of think, oh, I saw this. I thought that might mean this is a challenge for you. That kind of messaging is really going to resonate with someone because, frankly, until you give someone a reason to care about what you sell, they don't care. I don't care about the Ferrari, all right, because I don't have a pain point with my Toyota RAV4. In fact, it's probably a better fit for me than a Ferrari would be because I have two kids, right? So selling me on the exhaust and the engine and the 0 to 60 wouldn't resonate. Now, if you reach out to me and talk about my daily commute or potentially point holes in my fuel consumption, let's say the things I do care about, and you're selling an EV, well, in those cases, then you can actually create a challenge and get me thinking about something that I wasn't thinking about before. And in those cases, what you're doing, instead of trying to capture demand, try and find people who are actively trying to buy a new car, what you can do is get someone thinking about a new challenge that then prompts them to start thinking about a new car. And in those situations, you've got so much more of an upper hand. Do you know why? Because by the time someone has come to you and they said, look, I'm looking to buy a car, they've done their research and they're probably comparing you against 3 very close competitors. And your chances of winning that deal are much less than if you can find someone who is going to be only looking at your car because you're the one who prompted them, educated them, and gave them value to start looking at new tools, solutions, in this example, cars. So shut up about your car. Stop talking about your product. No one cares until they have a reason to care. Talk about the reasons they might care, the challenges, the problems, potentially the opportunities. But I'm much more a fan of talking about pain versus gain. It's twice the motivator. Imagine this. You're walking in the forest. And I know I'm going on a little bit here. You're walking in the forest and someone runs up to you and says, 2 miles down the road there is a treasure chest full of the most wildest treasures of your dreams. You'd be like, I'm not sure I trust you. Am I going to get kidnapped if I go down that way? You know what I mean? Like, that's how a buyer feels when a seller tells them that we can 10x your revenue. Sure thing, buddy. Of course you're going to say that. You're a salesperson. You're a murderer in the woods. I don't believe it. And if they keep walking and they never go find that treasure chest, well, guess what? Their life will go on. They'll go home after their nice walk in the woods, and sure, they may have missed out on the treasure, but they probably won't know anyway, and it doesn't really matter to them because they're going to keep living. Now, if someone walks up to you in the woods and says, hello, there are bears that way, and they point out a pain point, you need to know if there are bears down there, right? And like, so like, what would you rather be? The person who's running up to people telling them about potential bears, flash floods, ticks and Lyme disease, or would you rather be selling treasure that could be somewhere in the woods that they will keep? Because one of them can't be ignored. The other one, they'll be fine about it. Their life will be much better, and you know they would do better if they went and found the treasure, but they don't believe you. They have no reason to believe you. Of course, a salesperson is going to tell them that their wildest dreams are just down the road. So, yeah, that's the one thing I would say.
That's so well said. Love the story attached to it. Wrapping that all up in a beautiful bow. Sell the why, not the what, not the how. Don't run into Lyme disease and ticks and bears. No, Will, this has been phenomenal. We've been long overdue too, so I'm so glad that we got to do this. This was an absolute blast. Before we hop off, why don't you plug some with the audience? You're obviously up to a lot.
Yeah, if I had to plug one thing, I'm working a lot of YouTube content on the Lavender YouTube channel. It is a bit of a selfish plug, but the content there is very valuable and very helpful and not self-serving and will make you a better seller, I promise. So go check that out, like, subscribe, comment, do all the things, press the buttons, and that will give me some wind in my sail to keep making the great content that I continue to make.
Go follow the Lavender YouTube page. Will is not only delivering huge value, he is delivering huge laughs. Your video in the frozen lake is like forever imprinted in my brain. I cannot unsee it. The commitment.
Just wait for the next one.
Oh my God. The commitment to the bit is second to none. Go find Will Aitken on LinkedIn, find him on social. You're one of the best doing it, Will. I appreciate you doing this big time. This was really a lot of fun.
Absolutely, Alex. Thanks so much. Such a pleasure to come on finally.
Sales Stories in Real Life, fam. We'll see you next week. Cheers.